Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. God, hasn't it gone cold? I didn't sleep very well last night at all. I don't know whether it's the change in temperature or what, but I probably managed to get 3 or 4 hours. So if this comes across as a little bit lacklustre and a bit all over the place, I do apologise. We shall soldier on and see how we go. So first off, a quick hi and good morning to Chris. I know I've said it before, mate, but it's really good to have you back within the group and looking forward to any videos that you want to do when you feel ready to rejoin us on that. Loving the horror marathon at the moment. The titles you've been watching, let me get this right, Woman in Black. I still remember the original TV version of that, which terrified the hell out of me at the time. I don't know whether anybody has actually seen that version. I believe it's had a Blu-ray release just recently. I've still got it on DVD from when I first bought it, probably 20 years ago. But it is an absolutely cracking version. And if you've not seen that, I would definitely urge you to seek that out and take a look. I think you'll find it compares very favourably with the Daniel Radcliffe upgrade. So what else we got? Return of the Living Dead. Jason didn't like this one. He wasn't keen. I think it was mostly to do with the effects. I saw it a long time ago, but I can only just barely remember it, so I do need to take it in again. I did remember it correctly because you put me right on that, that it was the one with the punks in the graveyard. That's about as much as I can remember, and possibly the opening scene in the laboratory, if that was part of it. I do remember quite enjoying it. I'm not a massive fan of the sort of the zombie subgenre in horror, but there are a handful that I do enjoy. The Dead trilogy or quadrilogy, how many is it he's done now? Romero, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn, Day, Land. Callie, you can correct me on this one because these are your favourites, aren't they? Also Zombie Flesh Eaters I enjoyed. I watched one last night called Little Monsters, which I'll be talking about either a little bit later on or I'll do a little standalone review, which is an absolute complete and utter gem that I didn't even know existed. I watched it last night and thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, there are a few zombie films I like. Return of the Living Dead is one of them. What else? Speak No Evil. I'd love to know what you thought of this one. I'll probably put a post on a bit later on to get some other opinions on this one. I know Mark's seen it. I think Jason has, I'm not sure. This is the one with James McAvoy, isn't it? I've heard it's a very uncomfortable watch. I'll talk about that one either a little bit later or again. I'll do a standalone review when I've actually taken it in. It's one of those movies that I saw a clip of it and the trailer and thought, wow, that looks amazing. And then I went on the, here we go, the Parents Guide on the IMDb. Yes, I think I would probably just about get through that one. Unlike the other one I checked out, we had a choice of 2 movies last night. I'm diversing again. We had the choice of 2 movies last night. One was Speak No Evil, and the other one was one called Unhinged, which stars Russell Crowe as a man going full on Russell Crowe as a road rage victim as such. Well, not a victim, but a perpetrator. I went on the Parents Guide for that one, and I thought, God, if I put this one on for both of us, I'm constantly going to be behind the cushion. There was lots of scissors in eyes and stuff like that. I do want to watch it, and I will watch it, but only when I can just hit the remote and just either pause it or go past scenes that I'm not going to like. And in the end, I settled for this Little Monsters, which I thought looked amazing, and I wasn't wrong. What was I even talking about? Speak No Evil. Yeah, I'd be curious to know what you thought of that one. I've heard that apart from that, James McAvoy plays a crazy loon perfectly, from what I've heard. Let's see, Oddity. This is on Shudder. I saw this on Shudder, but I've not watched it yet. And Mama, which I saw many years ago, really enjoyed. An unusual film, very unusual. But loving these titles, mate, and can't wait to see what's coming up between now and October the 31st. So yeah, looking forward to that, Chris. And as I say, mate, welcome back to the group. It's brilliant to have you back. Right, I'll start with comments as I usually do. David Mansell, we'll start with David. We'll start with David. Awesome video. Keep up the good work. Cheers, David. Much appreciated. What is the earliest film you remember seeing at the cinema, and who inspired you to do YouTube? Right, guys, you've heard this before, so just bear with me, but David won't know this. The very first movie I ever saw at the cinema, my dad took me to see it. I remember being in the kitchen at home when my dad came into my mum and said, do you mind if I nip to the cinema? There's a film that I want to see, but I don't think you'll like it. And she said, no, of course not. Take Anthony. He'd love to go. Oh, no, I don't think, no, I don't think he'd like it. Oh, I think he would. So I got dragged along to the cinema. I'd never ever been inside the Odeon before. Walked into this darkened room, sat down. The film started to unspool on screen, and I was just won over. That was the start of my love affair with the cinema, which is no longer alive, obviously, because I don't go anymore. But I'm going to at some point. But the very first film I ever was taken to see, my dad was a huge motorsport fan. He used to take us to all the Grand Prix at Silverstone, race meetings at Mallory Park, Alton Park, all those places. Magical days. I loved it. More than anything, I loved the smell of petrol. Loved the smell of petrol, which was just overwhelming when you were there. A bit like the smell of the toilets, which were not fit for human habitation, I can safely say. But the movie he took me to see was that one, Le Mans, starring Steve McQueen, the king of cool, as he was back then and still is. I haven't seen this since I went to see it it would have been about 1971, so I'd have been about 9 years old when this came out. I absolutely thought it was one of the most boring things I'd ever watched, but the fact that it was on a big screen and it was loud noise, I thought it was brilliant. I would love to watch this again. I get the feeling I will definitely appreciate this more the second time round. But that was the very first movie I ever saw at the cinema. That's Le Mans, starring Steve McQueen. So that answers that one for you. And who inspired you? Where are we? I've lost my place. Who inspired you to do YouTube? Two colleagues at work. Again, guys, you've heard this before, so do forgive me. Basically, I started the website probably 3-4 years ago. And one of the guys at work, first off, suggested starting a Facebook group, which I did. And as you can see, it's going great guns and has been for years. And then two people within the space of a week came up to me and said, you need to start a YouTube channel. And my first reaction to that was, absolutely not. I will not sit in front of a camera talking about stuff that I don't know that much about. It won't work. Anyway, they didn't so much badger me, but they kept on at me about it. And I said, do you know what? I'll try and do one. I'll try and do a 2-3 minute one just to see how it works. And I did that. And if I think on, I'll post it within the group and tag you in it, just so that you can see how far I've actually come from day one, which was about 3 years ago. Possibly 2, no, more like 3, because I've got 240 something videos, which is an amazing amount of videos to do. Even I was surprised when I looked at how many there was the other day. But I did that first one, and it wasn't a complete disaster, but it was not a patch on what you are watching right now. It was only about 3-4 minutes long. I was holding DVDs up like this, face in front of it, and just peeping around the corner like that. It was horrendous. And I said to them the following week, I said, I can't do that again. And they said the same thing. Just keep at it, because it will work. I guarantee you it will work. And here I am, 158 subscribers later, 240 something videos later, talking for an hour and a half, sometimes the odd 2-hour one. Never in a million years would I have thought it would have taken off the way that it has. And for the first year or two, I seriously wondered what it was that I was actually doing, who I was talking to, and what was the point of it. I get it now. It's only really come to me probably over the last 6 months, and I treat it for what it is, which is basically just me sitting here with a brew, talking to you guys for an hour about what I've watched, what you've watched, the stuff that you've posted within the group, and I think it is absolutely perfect that way. And the thought of it appealing to a wider audience doesn't really bother me at all. As I've said before, I'm perfectly happy with it the way it is, just this nice, quiet little intimate group, just us talking, having banter, having a gag with each other. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But the answer to your questions is, it was 2 colleagues at work who suggested me going onto YouTube, and here I am 2 years later, 3 years later. So I hope that answers your question, David. Hope you're well, mate. Always good to hear from you. Any more questions, please throw them at me. I need as many as I can get. Stuart, morning Stu. I'm uploading my top 10 favourite 80s horror movie list today. What are yours? Coming next week, mate. I've answered another question. It took me a while to sort these 10 out. Another question from another regular viewer, and I didn't get a chance to look into that one, but that is definitely coming next week. I've made a note on here that is one of the things that's going to be sorted. So yeah, you'll get my top 10 80s horror movies next week. I think you'll know what 2 of them are. I think everybody else does. So yeah, that's coming next week, mate. I did ask about the island poster behind you on that video that you did. And you put it's a poster that comes with the new Island Blu-ray, mate. In my movie room. You have a movie room, you lucky sod. I haven't got a movie room. I've got a living room that I watch films in. Eventually, and I'm going to start work on this at some point soon. And I know I keep making these promises, but bear with me. I'm going to turn this into some kind of a shrine to movies. It's not looking too bad, but it's nowhere near what I want it to be. So yeah, I'll hopefully have a kind of a movie room at some point in the future. You put my Halloween trilogy, the original, then part 2, then H2O. Jamie Lee Curtis is fantastic in H2O. That's my trilogy. I'd have to completely agree with that, even though I did enjoy, as I've said last week, Season of the Witch, number 3, which was nothing to do with the actual franchise, but I thought it was a brilliant standalone horror movie. It's one that I've never bought. I haven't seen it for quite a while, so I would like to get a decent quality Blu-ray of that one at some point, just to watch it again. But yeah, as far as the perfect Halloween trilogy, yeah, I don't think you go too far wrong with that. The ones in the middle, Revenge, Return, Curse of, and all that, not bad, bit wishy-washy, but I always seem to end up watching them whenever I sort of bump into them when I'm channel hopping, so they can't be that bad. But yeah, perfect trilogy, 1, 2, and H2O. Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. I'm going with the wife on the 26th of this month to the IMAX cinema at Cineworld to see Nightmare on Elm Street. Wow, that's going to be amazing. I'm so excited. I never saw it on the big screen in 1984. A bit too young at 14 years old. My mother wouldn't let me go to see it. I don't blame her. You'd have been scarred for life, mate, seeing that at 14. We went to see E.T. instead. To be honest, I love E.T. So do I. I do remember going to see that again at the pictures. It was also, if I remember correctly, the most pirated movie ever at the time. I can't remember how I got hold of my copy. It was some kind of an advert in one of the film magazines, in like the personal ads, of sort of, copies of films still at the cinema. Just send for a list, which I did. E.T. was at the top of this list. I sent for it, popped it into the VHS player. I mean, the worst one I ever got was Friday the 13th, because it was pretty much all nighttime scenes and you couldn't see sod all. You couldn't see nothing. But I wanted it so badly, and same with E.T. The quality was pretty atrocious. I would never ever entertain watching anything less than DVD quality now. I just wouldn't do it. On a lot of the sites that I've used before, there have been movies labelled CAM. Basically that means camcorder, I think, and I'm fairly sure that the quality of those will be absolutely as grim as fuck. So I would never ever bother with anything like that now. I would rather wait 2-3 months, and that's all it is nowadays, 2-3 months, and either get a decent copy or preferably buy it on Blu-ray or 4K, which I'm slowly putting a Christmas list together of all the sort of new ones that are coming out between now and sort of the beginning of December, to get a nice little roster of movies to watch over Christmas. Alien Romulus is one, Twisters is another, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes obviously is another one, and I'm sure there will be a few more announced, but like I said last week, I'm not overly excited at the moment about what's coming over the next 3 months. Normally the big guns have come out by now and said this is coming sort of in a couple of months in time for Christmas. It's like, got to have that, got to have that. And I come up with a list of like 10 or 15 amazing box sets or ultimate collections and stuff like that. But there's been nothing really this year, apart from a Blair Witch box set, which includes what looks like an amazing little hardback book. I think it's for the first pressing only, so I'm paused over the sort of pre-order now button on that one because I don't want to miss that. And I don't want to risk it going on my Christmas list and getting it from HMV and then the book isn't part of it. So there's a very good chance I will be ordering that. But yeah, E.T., amazing film, just not on pirated copy. So thanks for that, Stuart. Much appreciated, mate. Always good to hear from you. Jason K.R. Ginger Ninja. Morning, Jay. Wait a minute. John Pertwee is not your father. I am shocked. Shocked, I say. Does that mean Sean Pertwee is not your brother? It does. It does. I wouldn't want him as a brother. He's a thoroughly unpleasant person, apparently. I read a report in one of the movie papers. Oh, was it a website? I can't remember. About somebody who met him in a pub. He dropped into a pub on his way to somewhere. Somebody recognised him, went over to him, and he was just rude and offensive and did not want to talk to him. All he wanted was an autograph, so I wasn't overly impressed with that. The only film I've really seen him in and really enjoyed him in was Dog Soldiers, which I thought was excellent. I wouldn't mind a Blu-ray copy of that at some point. But apart from that, I don't know many more that he's been in. I always thought he'd make an excellent Doctor Who. Thanks to the fact that he looks an awful lot like his dad. I mean, I've got to admit, he's a dead ringer for John. But yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint. He's not my brother, and John Pertwee is not my dad. It's just a little bit of a gag that's been going on for quite a while, and I can't be bothered to let it go. I just leave it running. I have a Ouija board too. Oh my God, really? I should use the talk to me hand on it. No, don't do it. Watch the movie, learn from it, Jace. God, never in a million. I was always told, and I did have a bit of a fascination with the idea of Ouija boards many, many years ago, basically when we first moved in here, and I suggested, with it being such an old house, shall we do the Ouija board one night? And he basically said, absolutely not. You bring one of those things into the house and I'll be going out the door. So that was that. That was my love affair. He didn't even like tarot cards. I had a pack of those. And I ended up giving those away because they just made him feel uncomfortable. So, although we have talked about possibly going to a medium at some point and having like a tarot reading or something like that. But basically having somebody else in charge of it rather than us. So it's a possibility, but Ouija boards, absolutely not. Bring on the horror. I watch a movie a day simply because I don't sleep a lot and run on massive amounts of caffeine. I would love to be able to do that, Jay. I do need to up my game as far as sort of watching movies goes. I get that, and I will be doing that. I absolutely will be doing that, which is the idea of that watch list, which I still haven't updated yet. I will definitely do it this week in time for next week so that you can see what's on the agenda for October, which by the time you watch this will be 3/4 of the way through October. So I might as well call it November's input. But I've not forgotten about it. I've had a chance to update it like I promised I would last week. I'm a huge fan of The Master and all versions of The Master. John Sim was great though. Missy was next level. I don't know this Missy. Callie or Jay, just tell me who this Missy is because I don't know this person. Is this the Asian geezer that played him last? Because he was mad. He was completely crazy, totally nuts. Is that who it was? Let's see, I've got a few things in the pipeline for the new year that I'm sure you will get a kick out of. I love your stuff, Jay, so I always get a kick out of them. I've got to confess, I've not been watching the Simpsons ones over the last few days because I'm not a huge fan of the Simpsons, but I will certainly be taking in some of your reviews, definitely. Um, Love the Triffids and Tripods. The Triffids, I have the original novel DVD and remake DVD. They're the Triffids. I've not seen the TV version with John Duttine. I think Guy's a fan of that one. I have seen the original movie. I've yet to find a decent print of that film. I don't know what went wrong with it. Whenever I see it on stuff like Talking Pictures TV, late on the BBC, it's always this sort of fuzzy. It's just not a very good print. There must be a crystal clear print of this movie somewhere. Now, whether it's always done in pan and scan rather than the full widescreen, I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. But I would love to get a proper, a really nice sort of print of that movie because it did terrify me as a kid. I remember watching it. It was quite early in the evening. That's what surprised me. I think it was on sort of 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'd have only been about 13 or 14 and it scared the hell out of me. And I was surprised to find out, or maybe not surprised, to find out years later that it was an ex-certificate when it opened in cinemas around 1963, something like that. So it shouldn't have really surprised me, but yeah, it was an ex-certificate and there it was being shown at sort of 7, 8 o'clock. And me, 13, 14 years old, watching it and just basically shivering like a jelly. I would love to see it again, but only as a decent print. The novel, I've never read it. I've seen it a couple of times on Audible, and I've been tempted to grab a copy of it and have a listen to it. I'll add that to my watch list actually when I come away from this. Still need to check out Threads and Witchfinder General. I don't think you'll be disappointed by either. Jason watched Threads a few days ago. I believe it was screened on BBC 3 or 4. I don't think he was overly impressed with it. I think he thought it was all right, but it didn't scare him. But what you have to realise is this was 40 years ago, and the world was a very, very different place back then. In the early 80s, it's pretty much all you heard about was this constant threat of nuclear war hanging over us all the time. And Threads tapped into that beautifully. It scared the hell out of everybody that watched it. Just the thought that that could happen, it was scary stuff. Maybe not so much now. I do need to take that Blu-ray in that I bought the other week and just see whether it has the same effect. I'm sure it would have dulled a little bit, but not much. I don't think so. Same as Ghostwatch. So yeah, Witchfinder General, you won't be disappointed with that one. Classic British horror. Physical media is great, but damn, it takes up a lot of space. I need more space or I need to get rid of some. Problem is, I keep replacing them with new ones. Tell me about it. This is what I'm trying to put a stop to myself, is buying more than I'm actually watching and getting rid of. The collection is growing. I managed to get it down probably about 3 months ago. I actually looked at it and thought that's not looking too bad. Then all of a sudden the stacks have got higher again. So I've only got, how many have I got this week? 1, 2, 3. That's all I've got. And I said I would limit it to 2 or 3 a week, but only if I could watch that many. So I do need to find 2 or 3 to watch that I know I'm probably going to watch the once and give away, and then they will replace those. That's the plan of how I'm going to do it, or should be. Should be how I'm going to do it. So yeah, I get that completely. I'd love to see a picture of your collection. Not too close because it will ruin the surprise of any ones that you want to show us, but just as sort of a distance shot of how many you've actually got, or even just let us know how many DVDs you've got. I don't count mine. I literally don't count them. There are just hundreds, possibly thousands. Let's see. Kit is great. Knight Rider was a show I grew up on along with many, many others. I've only seen that one episode. I do want to watch others. The problem is, as I'm sure you get this in Australia a lot as well, a lot of these TV channels that screen these sort of retro TV shows, they screen one episode a day. I can't keep up with that. That's why I like Talking Pictures TV, because these shows, they screen one a week, and I can keep up with that, no problem. But this thing with watching 5 or 6 or sometimes 7 episodes of something a week, like Knight Rider, which are about 50 minutes without ads, I just can't keep up with it. So yes, I would like to watch more, and I'm tempted by the box set, which I think Guy mentions a bit later on. But the one episode I watched, I enjoyed. I can't remember much about it, but I do remember enjoying it. Question for the week: given its spooky season, what's one horror movie you wish you could re-watch as if it was your first time? Do you know what? I'd not noticed that question. Let me think on this. I would probably say the original Friday the 13th. And I'll tell you for why. The first time I went to see it, I didn't know much about it. I simply saw the poster outside of Burton Odeon and thought, that looks good, we'll go and see that. So this was in the days when they used to allow you into the cinema before the end of the previous screening if you wanted to sit down, which, looking at it now, is absolutely pointless because it just spoils the ending of any film. But on this particular occasion, they made us queue outside the screen. And I do remember probably about 5-10 minutes before, probably 5 minutes before the end of the movie, we heard this horrendous collective scream from inside the cinema screen. And I remember turning to this guy and saying, fuck me, what have we let ourselves in for here? And he looked at me as if to say, I think the same. Obviously now I know exactly what it was. But yeah, to watch a film for the first time as if I'd never seen it, I would definitely say 100% the original Friday the 13th. So let's see what else we've got. A great vid as always, and thank you for getting me through another work day. You're more than welcome, Jay. I'm glad I make your work day a little easier. It's the same with Higgis. I used to listen to Higgis with Guy and Callie every week at work. On a Saturday, I'd be cleaning the canteen or cleaning the toilets at work, and I'd literally have my earpods in with a little bit of paper in my pocket, and every time something was said that I thought, oh, I need to refer to that, pull the piece of paper out, write it down, transfer the notes onto here when I got in. So I get that. I absolutely get that. And I'm really flattered that you've said that, so thanks for that, Jay. You went to see the new Joker movie. Joker of Folly, is Folly à Deux or something. By the way, love the pics of your local cinema. Please, please, more posts like that, guys. Anybody that's from not round here, even Jay, if you've got more cinemas that you pass by or you go to, I love posts like that. Absolutely love them. Let's see, Joker, Folie à Deux. What Folie à Deux was it? First time I've ever seen people walk. First time I've ever seen people actually walk out of a cinema. I don't think I've ever seen it. I've heard of it. I know Terrifier 3 has been causing a lot of walkouts because it is so intense or horrible, whichever way you want to put it. But that's the first time you've ever seen anybody walk out of a cinema. Rob Gear, you said, I nearly walked out, was so disappointed with this movie. Mark said, yeah, not seen anything good about this. I haven't either. I've not read a single good review of it yet. I'm going to go on the IMDb this week and just have a look what everybody's been saying about it, and just to get a clearer picture, and I'll perhaps have a little chat with you about that one next week. But people tell me it's a musical. What the fuck? What? A musical? How on earth do you turn something as dark and sinister as the original Joker movie into a musical sequel? Seriously? I can't even begin to imagine how that would work. Even Rob Gear, who made that comment about nearly walking out, he said that basically every time you thought it was going somewhere, they'd burst into song. And that's when I said, this sounds like a musical. Is it a musical? Well, yeah, I guess it is. Don't get that one at all, so we'll come back on that one. So, right, I'm going to take a quick break, guys, and I'll be back with Mark's comments back in a sec. And we're back. Right, oh bollocks. And we're back. Right, oh, fuck's sake. And we're back. Right, oh, seriously? And we're back. Right, quick message before I proceed with more comments. We've got a new member. Macaulay joined about an hour ago. So welcome to the group, mate. I think you'll like what we're doing here. It's just basically banter about sort of movies and stuff like that. You'll get the idea. Just scroll through the posts and you'll see how it works. Feel free to post anything movie related within the group. Feel free to comment, all that sort of thing. It's good to have you aboard, mate. Macaulay's a colleague of mine at work. He's a picker, whereas I'm a cleaner. Really, really nice guy. I think he'll fit in really well with you lot. So, as I say, welcome to the group, mate, and feel free to post at any time and all that sort of thing. So, good to have you aboard. Right, on to Mark's comments. The Thin Red Line is a great movie. I would recommend it to anybody who enjoys war movies. I used to have this on DVD many, many years ago. I think it's one of the first ones I ever bought. I don't recall ever watching it, or if I did, it didn't make much of an impression as I can't remember a single thing about it. So it's one that I do probably need to take in at some point. I took your recommendation last week for 310 at Humour, so I'm probably going to try and grab a copy of that one. If you say it's a good one, that's good enough for me. You put, don't worry, mate, you're not alone. I've not seen the original Italian Job or the remake. I've seen the remake. I don't honestly understand how the original Italian Job has flown under my radar for so long. It's an iconic movie. Probably when you mention Michael Caine, it's the first movie that you actually think of is the Italian Job. So I do need to take a look at that. I need to drag that one down and put that onto the watch list for next month. I do need to take that one in. As Guy will tell you a little bit later. As for physical media, as most of you know, I don't own any. I find that really. I can't imagine a home without DVDs or Blu-rays. I just can't. Maybe not as many as me or Jason have got, but that to me is strange. But I know you're going to get back on it. You put before my daughter was born, I owned about 500 to 600 DVDs, but I had to sell them all to create room. The plan is when my son fucks off to university in 2 years' time, then I will take over his room and have my man cave back once again. And I do hope to start collecting again. But when I do start buying, it will be quality over quantity. Yeah, that's something I've got to go with as well. Most definitely. Out of all the DVDs I had, I probably bought over half of them blind, like yourself, just because I could. And I only ever watched them once and probably wouldn't have watched them again. So yeah, you need to start using that philosophy yourself going forward, quality over quantity. I fully intend to. At the moment, it's working okay at the moment. I've only got 3 to show off this week. So what I'll do is I'll pick 3 off the shelf upstairs that I know I'm probably only going to watch once. I'll get them watched and stick them in the box for the charity shop, the RSPCA shop, and that's how I'm going to work it from now on. I do need to start thinning them out. I desperately need to start thinning them out. They're starting to look a bit of a mess. It's just a stack of Blu-rays and then another one next to it, then another one next to that, and I know what I've got to do. Now then, you posed me a question last week. Let me just put this down. Mint tea this week, in case you're wondering. Question for you. If you had to get rid of all your DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks and even VHS tapes and only keep 10, what would they be? I'll leave that one with you. It's a good job you did. There was no way I could have done that one on the spot. As it is, it took me about half an hour to pick 10 movies off the shelf that I, well, basically would never want to be without. Um, there are so many more. I don't think it's going to be the last you're going to see of this particular little thread. It's a bit like a Desert Island Discs uh, kind of question, whereas you just pick 10 movies that you would take to a desert island with you. I get the feeling that I'm coming back to the mainland to pick another 10 in about a month or two, because this is not a definitive list by any means. And it's in no particular order. You also put, as we're keeping 10, it could be that you just really like the case that it comes in, like a steelbook, etc., and not just because you love the movie. I did look for a steelbook, but I was in a bit of a hurry to get these movies put together, and I couldn't find the one that I was actually looking for, but that will do very nicely for the next batch, and there will be a next batch. So they're in no particular order. As I say, I'm going to show off, first of all, the two that I'm not counting within the 10, but there is no way that I could leave these two behind, and you know what they are going to be, so I'm not going to talk too much about them because I've blathered on about these for so long. Over the last few years, you pretty much know what they are. First one, Saturday Night Fever. Absolutely brilliant movie. Typical time capsule of the 70s. As I've said before, everybody that's not seen this imagines it to be this cutesy little disco movie from the sort of mid-70s. It is so much more than that. This is a dark, nasty film, and I didn't realise how bad it was until I actually watched it and thought, bloody hell, this must have caused some problems with the censors on both sides of the Atlantic. But it's a classic film. It's got the most amazing Bee Gees soundtrack. You know my feelings on that one. And Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Again, never get bored of this. Saw it the first time in 1977 when it came out. First time I watched it, I didn't properly get it, but something told me to go back and watch it again, which I did. I totally got it, loved it, absolutely adored it, and saw it, I believe, something like 15 times in the 3 weeks that it was at Burton Odeon, and I've loved it ever since. I've not seen it for a while. This was the first ever 4K disc that I bought, so I would like to watch it in 4K. I get the feeling there is going to be a 50th anniversary of this coming out in about 2 years, so it's not the last you will have seen of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So that's the two that I'm not including in the 10, because you knew for a fact that I would pick those two. First one, I saw this again back in 1977. The first time I went to watch it, I came out of the cinema and thought, what the hell, that was amazing. The original Star Wars, A New Hope, Episode 4. Just a classic piece of sci-fi. I could have picked The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. I was tempted to cheat and say, you know, I'm counting this trilogy as one choice, but I'm trying to stick to the rules as best I can. This I absolutely love. I loved it the first time I saw it, and I've loved it ever since. It is typical 70s sci-fi, just a brilliant movie, and I can't imagine my life without that. Next one, oh Mark, you'll love this one. This one did not rate with you at all. Planet of the Apes. This is the box set that I've got of the original 5 movies. I love the original movie Planet of the Apes. Not so much the sequels. I did enjoy them, but they couldn't hold a candle to the original with Charlton Heston and Roddy McDowall. It is just classic sci-fi, based on a book called Monkey Planet. It spawned a TV series in the sort of mid-70s, which I loved, and also a complete misfire of a remake about 2000 starring Mark Wahlberg, which I watched fairly recently, probably about 6 months ago, and did not enjoy, not one bit. I think I spent most of the time playing on my phone, so that pretty much shows how much I enjoyed that one. But these first 5 were absolutely brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but I do need to take in the trilogy that comes just before that, The Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I believe War of the Planet of the Apes. So I need to take all three of those in before I proceed with Kingdom, which I'm hoping to be getting for Christmas. But the original, stone cold classic, couldn't do without it. Next one, the ultimate home invasion movie, made in 1971, stars Dustin Hoffman and Susan George. Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs. Oh dear, where do you even start with this? This had the most unbelievable problems with the censors, mostly due to the infamous rape scene halfway through it, which, if you read a lot of the sort of articles on different websites, what they're basically saying is that if you read that scene one way, it means that no means yes. It's a controversial movie, but I believe it was passed with minimal cuts in 1971. It was causing problems basically just recently. It definitely it pushes buttons. It's an uncomfortable movie to watch. It was based on a novel called The Siege at Trench's Farm, and the author of that book disassociated himself completely from this film, basically because there was too much mayhem going on. I love this movie. Again, I've not seen it for quite a while. I love reading about the controversy surrounding this. I've got probably one or two books upstairs concerning the movie. I've watched loads of videos on YouTube concerning the problems it had with the censors. This is the unrated version. It's a US cut. It is uncut. I watched this when I first got it, probably 4 or 5 years ago. Not seen it since, but that is one that I would definitely not want to leave behind on the mainland. My favourite ever animal attack movie, stars William Shatner, made in 1977. This was quite a shocker back in its day. Kingdom of the Spiders. I remember reading the paperback book of this about maybe 6 months to a year before the film came to the UK. I spotted the paperback in the local newsagents on one of those revolving little things with all books on them. Bought it immediately, and it states at the top of the book, now a major motion picture. I was so looking forward to seeing this. And then it was re-released in the UK with an X-rated movie called The Redeemer. Now, unfortunately, the higher certificate took precedent over this one, which was a double A, which was over 14s. The Redeemer was over 18s. I went down to the cinema age 15 to get in to watch this, and they wouldn't let me in. I mentioned it to my aunt that I'd been down and they wouldn't let me in. She says, I'll come with you, I'll get you in. So we went down there and basically said, we're not bothered about the first film. We went down for the start time of this one. The Redeemer had already played, and the usherette behind the counter did tell us, you've missed half of the double bill. And my aunt says, we're not bothered about that, we'll go and see the other one. And they let me in. This was about a week later. You never forget this once you've seen it. This is in the days before CGI. And what makes it so horrifying is the fact that when you see people covered from head to toe in tarantulas in this movie, they are literally covered from head to toe, crawling with the things. And I've read several times that part of the interview process for the casting of this movie, they had to answer the question, are you afraid of spiders in any way, shape or form? Because if so, you will not basically love being in this. But it's a cracking movie. I believe it fell foul not too long back of the animal rights activists who pointed out the amount of spiders that must have been killed in this. You do see them being run over by cars and stuff like this, because there are literally thousands of the things. They are everywhere. So if you are an arachnophobe like me, this is definitely a movie to avoid, but it is so well made. And the ending, you never ever forget the ending. My favourite animal attack movie ever. I do love that subgenre. There's nothing that does it for me basically more than Nature Fights Back. So, but that is one of its finest examples. Next one, I haven't seen this for years. This is 1983, Matthew Broderick, War Games. Directed by John Badham, who made Saturday Night Fever, which I only realised probably a few months back because I think Guy told me. It's a cracking movie about a teenager played by Matthew Broderick who's got a computer. Bearing in mind that computers were a completely different animal to what they are now. The internet barely existed, and basically he gets into trouble by hacking the government's computers, playing what he thinks are games with titles like global thermonuclear war, and basically nearly starts World War III, a nuclear war. It's an amazing movie. If you've not seen this and you like sort of 80s classics, this one is definitely worth a watch. Hammer films. I had to pick a Hammer film because I grew up with them. One of my favourites is one of the later entries from 1972 called Dracula AD 1972. The plot, boiled down, is that Dracula is brought back to life in the year 1972 and causes his usual mayhem. You've got Christopher Lee in this, who is superb. Peter Cushing is superb. Stephanie Beacham is in this. She's amazing. It's a cracking movie. The soundtrack is so early 70s. There are a couple of songs at the beginning of the film that I wanted to get on CD, and I believe the soundtrack has just been released a few months ago, and I keep meaning to grab that. I think the group is called the Stoneground, and they are playing at a teenage party in the middle of London, and the songs are just amazing. But the film itself is superb. It's just perfect early 70s, and it's a snapshot as well of that time, because a lot of the shops that you see in the high street, the things in the movie, that they only happened or were only there in the 70s. So I definitely love that. Seen it loads of times. This is one of the trippiest movies I've ever seen. I've loved this since the first time I saw it, which would have been probably mid to late 70s. Barbarella. It's also called Barbarella, Queen of the Galaxy, but in the movie I believe it's just called Barbarella. Stars Jane Fonda. It's basically an adult sci-fi movie made in 1968, so it's colourful, it's bright, it's trippy, it's just wonderful, and the soundtrack is absolutely amazing. I believe it's by the Bob Crew generation. So unbelievably quintessentially 60s. I've seen this one many times. It was always on, if I remember right, usually on a Friday night, and when I get home from the pub, this would be sort of a quarter of the way through, and I'd always end up watching it, so I couldn't wait to grab this on Blu-ray, and believe me, it still looks good now. I believe there is a remake in the offing at the moment, in the works, starring Sydney Sweeney. God knows what they're going to do with it. I kind of wish they wouldn't, but they're remaking everything nowadays, aren't they? So, but yeah, that's one of my favourites. Next one, total classic from 1969, Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman, Midnight Cowboy. Jon Voight plays a guy who lives in a very small town in the middle of nowhere, decides to break away and make his fortune in New York. Basically, he becomes a male hustler, male whore to me and you. He meets Dustin Hoffman, who basically becomes his manager. Dustin Hoffman is a streetwise con man. There are just so many iconic scenes in this. It's got a brilliant opening track from Harry Nilsson, Everybody's Talking, which I believe The Beautiful South covered a few years ago. This was the first mainstream movie to get an X certificate, and it was the first X certificate movie to win the Best Picture Oscar. X certificates back then in America were basically the reserve of sort of adult porno movies, that kind of thing, really heavy stuff, and this got that. So, but it's a cracking movie. Seen it many times. This one I saw on a double bill with a movie called Warlords of Atlantis way back in 1978. I loved both movies to the point where I saw them, it must have been 7 or 8 times. These were the days when I used to go to the cinema 3-4 times a week. If I liked a film enough, I would go and see it. I wouldn't think twice about going to see it sort of 3-4 times. This one I saw many times. Doc Savage, The Man of Bronze. It's an early superhero kind of thing, one that you've probably not heard of because it doesn't get the amount of coverage that you get with sort of X-Men and the Avengers and Spider-Man and Superman. But before all of that, you had Doc Savage. Now, he only appeared in one movie, even though right at the end it announced, like with the Bond films, Doc Savage will be back in another adventure, but it never happened. Stars Ron Ely, who was TV's Tarzan in the 60s. I just absolutely love this. I've seen it many, many times, never get bored of it. It's a bit like a comfort blanket. You know what I mean? A rainy Saturday afternoon, Doc Savage will do very nicely. And finally, and these are in no particular order, Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese's finest hour. What a movie. I've seen this upwards of 20 or 30 times. Rob has never seen this and admitted this to me the other night when a clip of it came on some programme we were watching. And I said, "You've never seen it?" He said, "Well, I've seen bits of it. I've seen probably a bit at the beginning and this, that and the other." So this is definitely on the watch list for a Saturday night with a pizza. I don't think Scorsese personally has ever topped this. It's as grim as hell. Again, caused problems with the censors due to the character that Jodie Foster played, and of course the violence within the first sort of the last 10 minutes, which is pretty horrendous. But a classic movie, and again one that I would not want to leave on the mainland if I was going to live on a desert island. So that is my 10. I hope that's answered your question, Mark. There will be more of that coming because, as I say, that was a really difficult list to put together. I certainly couldn't have done it off the cuff. I had to think about that one. I was pulling movies off the shelf and thinking, yeah, oh no, we can do better than that. And it took about half an hour to put that lot together. So there will be more of them, I promise you. So thanks for that, Mark. Any other questions you've got for me, feel free to fire them. Same time next week, mate, you said. Yes, absolutely, mate, I will be here. You're never seen it for this week, by the way, was The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas. That's a powerful piece. You put very hard hitting in the reality of things, but would I watch it again? No, I don't think I would. 7 out of 10. Jason, you said never seen it either. I may have tried to watch it before, but turned it off. Not my kind of film. Dave Taylor, you said seen it the once. It's one you have to stick with. Is it ever? I've only seen it once. I've meant to watch it again, but that ending is just so unbelievably traumatic. It's one of those, you'll know this, Mark, because you've seen it now. You'll kind of see it coming about sort of 5-10 minutes from the end, but you think, oh, no, they wouldn't go there, surely. No. Oh God, they are going there. It's just horrible. But it's an amazing film, and it is. It's just that ending that puts me off. I'm not sure I could cope with that again. It was emotionally draining. But a cracking film. You also watch Will and Harper, which I believe is screening on Netflix at the moment. Guy, you said, never even heard of this. What's it about? And then Mark replied with, and this is the perfect description of it, perfect review. It's a documentary about Will Ferrell's best friend, Andrew Steele, who tells him that he's transitioning from a man to a woman. That's the Harper of the title. And they then take a road trip across America. It's a really good watch, mate. I enjoyed it. I thought Will would try to make it all about himself, but he doesn't. He comes across as a really good guy with how supportive he is. And Guy said, oh, bless him, I'll have a look at that. Cheers, mate. I'll definitely be taking that one in because I think Rob would like that. That could be next week's Pizza and a Movie Night, thinking about it. I've read nothing but good reviews of this since it hit Netflix probably 2-3 weeks ago. Wouldn't have thought it was your sort of film. When I saw you'd watched that one, I thought, I'm not sure he's going to like that, but I'm really pleased that you did. And I'll be taking a look at it, and I'll throw my hat in the ring when I've watched that. So thanks for all that, mate. Much appreciated. Always brilliant to hear from you as usual. Guy, morning, sir. Morning, Guy. You've not seen The Italian Job. Hang your head in shame. Oh God, I've hung my head in shame so many times about this one. I know it's not good, and I know I need to take it in, and I will put it on the watch list, which I'll be updating at some point soon. It's next to me now. I need to put that one on just to say that I've seen it. But I know for a fact that once I've watched it, it'll be one that I'm going to watch again. I know it. By the way, I'll be catching up with Higgis hopefully later today. I've watched half of the first episode of Star Trek, of the Star Trek one that you've done. I believe it's labelled as part one. Is there a part two coming up next week? If so, I shall hold off until that one's released, and I shall throw me comments at you on both of them at the same time. But I've not forgotten you. Tubi, how much does it cost, and is it any good? It costs nothing. It's free. It's not bad. If you like sort of obscure sort of B movies, there's loads of them on there. I saw tons on there that I thought, oh, I wouldn't mind watching that. I ain't seen that for ages. Um, but as for blockbusters, there's a few on there. But yeah, it's definitely worth it, especially if it's costing you nothing. I've got it on my PC at the moment. I want to get it installed on the TV if I can, because I don't like watching films on the PC if I can help it. But I will definitely be watching some bits on Tubi. It's definitely worth it, mate. It's not costing you. On the screen test theme, one of my favourites, especially the full 2.45 minute version. What a classic theme tune. For those of you that don't know, Screen Test was hosted by a man called Michael Rodd in the sort of early 70s. I've actually got a Screen Test annual upstairs, Guy. If I can find it, I don't think it's in the attic because I've seen it fairly recently. I'll dig it out and I'll show you, because I think you get a bit of a kick out of that. As I say, for those of you that don't know, Michael Rodd hosted this quiz show for kids, based around movies. I can't remember much about it. He used to show clips from obviously family movies and quiz the kids on, you know, what was the man wearing to the right of the guy with the green shirt, that kind of thing. And it was really, really entertaining. But it had this infectious theme tune at the beginning and the end, which I'm going to post on the music group if I can. If I think on later on, but classic movie. This old time TV website, send me the link, please. I will do that, mate. Logan Noir, yes, it's Logan just in black and white, but I think it does improve it, more atmospheric. They did the same with Mad Max Fury Road, if I remember right. It was called Mad Max Fury Road Chrome Edition, which I've not watched, but apparently it gives you a completely different viewing experience from watching it in colour. Don't quite know how, but it does apparently. Poor Rob. Don't moan about him putting on the washing machine, you absolute rotter. I wasn't moaning. He didn't realise when he put the wash on before he went out that I hadn't finished recording. So the second he stepped outside the door, I turned the camera on and started talking to it, and then realised I could hear the washing machine in the background. I didn't mention anything to him when he got back. I said nothing. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter, does it? This is not professional in any way. This is just me sitting here talking to you. So if I've got noises going off in the background like washing machines, it really doesn't matter, does it? So, no, I didn't moan at him. Knight Rider. Finally, I fucking told you so. Get the box set immediately. I'll have a look at what price it is, and if it's a reasonable price, I'll grab the box set. The other one I was looking at the other week was the A-Team, because I've not seen that either. Yes, I know. It was a period in time that I was very rarely in. I was always out pubbing or clubbing or whatever. So I didn't watch much TV or movie-wise at that time. So I missed out on a lot of TV series like Knight Rider, Baywatch. What was the other one? The one on the motorbike. Street Rider, was it? Something like that. Airwolf. Missed all that. So I need to catch up on all of those. That Woodfall box set looks awesome. It's bloody brilliant. It really is. What I'll do is next week I'll drag it down and I'll do a little unboxing for you, because it's still in the cellophane, and I'll show you what movies you actually get in there. But it's definitely your era, Guy, like mine. It's amazing. Well, that's it for this week. It seems a bigger notebook makes for bigger comments. You got a bigger notebook, I can tell. So thanks ever so much for that, Guy. Any questions you've got for me, feel free to throw them at me. I know I keep asking for questions, but what keeps me talking for so long. So, right, what have I got left? I've got Sam, and I've got Jason's comments. You might want to settle in for that one. So, I'll just take a quick break. I'll be back in a sec. And we're back. Right, coming into the home stretch, guys, with a bit of luck. Sam, Oh, bollocks. And we're back. Right, coming into the home stretch, guys. I certainly hope so because I'm starting to flag a bit now. Sam, morning, Sam. Great video as ever, Tony, mate. Much appreciated, mate. On the subject of Doctor Who, I just bought the Silurians on VHS. Fantastic story, and what a great start to Pertwee's tenure with Spearhead from Space. Autons and then Silurians, two classic, iconic monsters. Also, Tone, will you be getting season 25 with Sylvester McCoy? It's part of the Blu-ray collection range. It got announced like 3 months ago and I've still not pre-ordered it. Probably not, Sam. Reason being, I kind of lost interest in Doctor Who after Tom Baker gave the role up. Peter Davison was okay. I watched a few of his. I didn't watch any of Colin Baker's or Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester McCoy stories. I think I've got a couple upstairs on DVD. I mean, when I get to the end of this, or towards the end of this Doctor Who journey that I'm on, I'm currently up to the Troughton era. I will probably be in the completest that I am, get the Colin Baker and the Sylvester McCoy stories, not to mention some of the Peter Davison ones that I'm missing, just to complete the set. But as for Blu-ray, it's probably unlikely. Reason being that I'm not totally convinced that the upgrade to Blu-ray is going to be worth it. I've got them all pretty much on DVD, and maybe Guy can tell me this because I think we've had this conversation before. Is it worth the upgrade, Guy? If so, I may consider it, but it's just the thought of double dipping on stories that I've had for years. And chances are I won't watch a lot of them again. But who knows? I mean, I've heard the special features are absolutely awesome in these Blu-ray sets, so that might just sway me. But as for the actual picture quality, what more can you do with a TV series that's like 50, sometimes 60 years old? I would imagine you're quite limited on how much you can actually upgrade it, but maybe. I never say never on that one. Salem's Lot was really good, mate. Watched it all in one night. Some very creepy aspects about it. Loved the look of the main vampire in it. David Soul played such an awesome leading character in there, and there was some other great side characters too. The music at the start and end credits is fantastic. Looking to take a look at the remake soon. Those end credits, the title theme is absolutely brilliant, absolutely superb, very 1970s and very TV movie-ish, which is what it was. It was a two-part TV movie. As for the remake, I will take it in almost certainly because I've been looking forward to it, but I'm under no illusions as to whether I'm going to think it's better than the original. It's not going to be, not for me anyway. I'm sure that a lot of people who haven't seen the David Soul original, they will probably think that it is better, but personally I don't think so. I still remember the fuss about that in the playground the following day. I was only 15, people coming up to me pretty much all morning saying, did you watch Salem's Lot? Did you watch Salem? Everybody saying that it was the most terrifying thing they'd ever seen. Obviously we didn't know back then that it was directed by Tobe Hooper, the man who made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Obviously, if we'd have realised that back then, we'd have understood why it was what it was. But absolutely superb, and I'm really pleased you enjoyed it. I watched Night of the Living Dead for the first time Friday night and really enjoyed it, mate. Coming to get you, Barbara. I love that line. So ahead of its time, and the film suited the black and white grading. I could only imagine how mind-blowing and how effective this film was upon release, with zombies coming to the big screen. They'd been on the big screen for quite a while. Some films in the 30s from, I think, Universal. I Walked with a Zombie, King of the Zombies. There were quite a few of them. And then Hammer picked the mantle up in 1966 with Plague of the Zombies. But George A. Romero picked the baton up and ran with it. My God. We'd never seen anything quite like that. The levels of gore and violence were like nothing that we'd ever seen in any horror movie. So he basically set the bar very high for zombie movies. Hoping to get onto Dawn and Day next as part of my horror marathon. You're in for a treat with Dawn of the Dead. a total classic, absolutely brilliant. Day of the Dead, for me, the jury's still out on that one. I saw it 40 years ago when it first came out, and I can't remember being overly impressed with it. But I would like to take another look just to make sure I'd just not watched it on the wrong day or I wasn't in the mood for it. So I'm fairly sure I can find it streaming somewhere. So I'll take a look at that at some point and let you know how I get on with it 40 years later. Let's see. Tony, have you got a favourite anthology horror film, mate? I most certainly have. And I've got it right here. I loved Creepshow 2. But anthology horrors, I always go back to the Amicus movies from the late 60s, early 70s. And the best of the bunch to me was that one, Tales from the Crypt. Vault of Horror was good. It came out the following year. Tales from the Crypt came out in 72. Basically, it's set around a series of caves. Some people are being shown around and they are shown into a special cave, basically containing the Crypt Keeper, who shows them visions of their future. 4 stories, or is it 5 in one? I love the story with Joan Collins and the psychopathic Santa. The one set in the Home for the Blind is brilliant. And of course, Mr. Grimsdyke, played by Peter Cushing, which is an absolutely brilliant story. This is definitely my favourite one. I've seen it many, many times. I also enjoyed, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors in 66. That was a good one. Asylum in 1972. That was good. From Beyond the Grave was brilliant. That was 1973. These Amicus horror films are just superb. 5 movies in one. You can't go wrong. But Tales from the Crypt is by far my favourite anthology film. So I'm hoping that answers your question, mate. I'm looking to pre-order the upcoming Arrow edition of Trick or Treat soon. I really enjoyed the original Creepshow on VHS, first time watch. I need to take a look at Tales from the Dark Side and Tales from the Crypt TV series as well. Creepshow's amazing. Tales from the Dark Side, not bad. Yeah, worth a watch. Tales from the Crypt, the TV series, I can safely say I've never seen it. I remember it coming into the video shop on basically several VHS tapes. But never actually bothered watching it, and I don't know why. I've heard it's very good, but yeah, Creepshow definitely head and shoulders above all of them. So I've heard very good things about Ghostwatch, Bud. One I add to the watch list. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's start again. I've heard very good things about Ghostwatch. One I'd like to add to the watch list. It's a film that does get a lot of high praise of late. Sounds like I'm missing out. Nice BFI set of Woodfall there, mate. Some of those movies I wouldn't mind taking a look at. Ghostwatch you definitely need to see. An absolutely amazing programme. Had quite the effect back in 92 when it first came out. Fooled half the country into thinking the thing was real, including me. As for that Woodfall box set, I believe Guy asked me about that earlier on as well. I'll drag it down and I'll unpack it properly. I'll either do another little unboxing video or I'll do it on next week's proper video and I'll show you the movies that are actually contained in it. I think I read them out, but I've not shown the sleeves yet, but I'll do that because there's been a lot of interest in that one. Fantastic video, Tony, mate. Hope you had a great week and having an awesome weekend. Bring on next Saturday's morning vlog. Much appreciated, mate, and the kind words are also much appreciated. It's guys like you and the rest of the subscribers that make this thing worth doing, so thanks for that. I really enjoyed your second instalment of your book video, by the way. Love that Elvis Costello autobiography. My god, that is a massive book. I actually bought that on Audible. As soon as I saw it I thought I wouldn't mind that. Went on Audible and I've got it for, I think it was $7.99. It's something like 17 hours long, so I'm going to be taking in the first chapter of that very shortly, so I'll let you know what I think of that when I've read it. But that was a cracking video, mate. Some great titles on there. Skellig, I've never heard of that one. What was the one, by the way, that you mentioned that you'd studied in school? I thought it was one of the football hooligan ones, and I remember thinking, God, he was never studying that at school, surely. Was it another one? I can't remember which one it was. I'll be doing my top 5 music books, probably next week, by the way. music biographies, autobiographies, that kind of thing. I've got quite a few upstairs, so I'll pick 5 of my favourites and I'll show you which they are. And also loved your horror all-nighter video, by the way. That was cracking. I'll try and find 4 movies. It won't be difficult to do. Find 4 movies that I would put on my personal all-nighter, and I'll try and do that one next week as well. So thanks for that, Sam. Much appreciated, mate. Always great to hear from you. Jason P. Morning, Jay. You might want to settle in with a coffee and some biscuits for this one. It's going to take a while. Great video as always. Here we go. Thanks, Jace. Weight loss group. Make the group private instead of open. Your friends won't post for the whole world to see. I think you're right on that. I'm going to do that, definitely. Yeah, leave that with me. That's going to be sorted. Rob Zombie's Halloween. That is brutal as fuck and a great origin story to go with it. Loved it. The sequel is okay, but the first one, wow. Getting a 7-foot wrestler to play Michael Myers helped. I didn't realise that. I enjoyed them, but obviously I prefer the originals. You know me, traditionalist to the end. I've seen both Italian jobs, didn't like the original, but loved the remake. There's your curveball for this week. I get the feeling I'm going to prefer the original over the remake, but we are constantly butting heads over things like this, so that shouldn't come of any surprise. Not seen Escape to Victory, for fuck's sake. Don't know why. It's one of them movies that I get the feeling I would probably enjoy, but no, I haven't. But I will be taking it in. I shall add it to the ever-growing watch list. Just because you own Batman Returns doesn't mean you've seen it. You know me far too well. You are right. I can't remember whether I have actually seen it. I do remember buying it on VHS the day it was released, but whether I actually watched it all the way through, I don't know. So I do need to go right the way back to the beginning of Batman, like I've done with all the other franchises that I've half finished, and start maybe with the 1966 original based on the TV series. That would be a good starting point. So leave that with me. Yeah, Christmas releases. We were talking about Christmas releases on DVD. Back in the 90s, there were loads that you'd write down and go to Woolies for at the end of November. I think it's because movies that were released in cinemas between April and June are out before the end of September. They come out so quick nowadays. Whereas years ago, they wouldn't be out until October, November time, if then. Even movies released in July, August years ago were rush released for the Christmas market. It's the one market they can't afford to miss. So everybody likes to get their titles out in time for Christmas, which is why I genuinely can't understand why the big guns haven't come out for this year. My video. Oh, this is the little video that you did. I wouldn't have knocked on your door, mate. He filmed it from outside my house, or he was going to. Apparently. I wouldn't have knocked on your door, mate. I'd have just filmed it outside, then moved the camera to your door. But I couldn't remember if it was 21 or 22. I was literally right outside your house. Well, opposite, because there was no parking space, which is absolutely no surprise to me at all. And believe it or not, that was the first time I'd ever been up there since doing cross-country runs at school in the 80s. You remember that? Before Briz Valley opened. They started the layout on Briz Valley in 83, the year I first started Paulette. So driving up there, I couldn't remember where it led to. I'm the same up on the other end of Statenall, where my mum used to live. Some of those side streets, I can't remember the names of them, let alone where they lead to. But yeah, I remember doing cross country as well. This, like you say, this was before Brisbane Valley even existed. It was all hills. You basically got a clear run up to the water tower, if I remember right. So I remember that very well. If you do watch The Fly, you might as well watch Cape Fear too. Whoa, easy, Tiger. I'm not going that far. I've not watched The Fly yet, and I'm not convinced I'm going to, but I've bought it, so it'd be stupid not to, but I'm not sure about Cape Fear. I can always knock the sound off. I know when it's coming, or skip that scene, because I wouldn't mind watching it. It's a Scorsese classic, apparently. So, but I only got as far as the arm break the last time I watched it. I'd love a TV channel to repeat Commoner's Muck from the 90s. No way am I paying DVD prices when I know it'll be repeated. It is on the stick, but I prefer it in my planner. I'm OCD that way. You certainly are. Commoner's Muck, is this the one set around the bin men? I think I saw it, oh God, years ago. I've not seen it since though. Good series if I remember right. And Mark has watched Notting Hill. So I recommend for Christmas, if you've not seen them, Last Christmas and Love Actually. I actually watched Love Actually for the first time last year and really, really enjoyed it. Last Christmas I've not watched. Notting Hill I've not seen since it first came out, but Mark enjoyed it, so I may take another look at that. And finally, sorting your movies out, or thinning out as you say. As you know, I started doing this in March 2020 and finished in December last year. I watched all my collection in that time, which was about 1,200 movies. Some I turned off and wondered why I bought the shite. Like Mark said, a lot of films you bought blind back then. I did. I bought loads of them blind. So after sorting through them all, watching every single movie I owned, I got rid of about 100 movies. I've got to be brutal with this, the way that you were. Now every movie I own, I know I love, as it's had more than one watch. I was brutal in doing this clear out. I even watched 70% of my TV collection too. That must have took some getting through. So from this year I started again. I've only watched about 30 films from my collection since January. This year I've only watched the movies I last watched back in 2020 at the start of the project. Next year I can watch the ones from 2021 and so on. I also like to leave a gap of 3 years until I watch a movie a second time. If it's an absolute classic, I'll watch it probably once a year, maybe more than that. Others I can leave for decades and not bother with again, which are the ones I really do need to get rid of, I guess. So now I've started the project. Now I've started the project again. If in 5 years I've still not watched a certain movie that I watched the first time round, I think it'll be safe to say it's time to let go. Because out of all the movies that were saved, there were probably about 20 that I wasn't sure about, but kept anyway. I had trouble with that as well when I was doing it last time. There were certain ones that you think, shall I, shan't I, shall I, shan't I? I'll keep it. Luckily, I wrote down what I watched in 2020, 21, 22 and 23, so I can see when I watched them last time. In total now I have 1,133 films and about 30 TV series on DVD or Blu-ray. That's some collection, mate. Not forgetting about 900 plus CDs. I don't think I've got that many, probably 500, 500. Physical media rules, it absolutely does. And I will never stop collecting. I just need to be a bit more discerning about what I collect and how many I collect. Great vid as always, mate. Keep up the good spirits. They're not going too bad at the moment. So I had a bit of a nightmare this morning, as I usually do every couple of weeks. But basically, you've just got to look on the positive side. It'll get done. It'll be released next Saturday, so what's the problem? Every Saturday morning I wake up, it's probably about 5 a.m. or something, and think, shall I watch Tony's video, but then go back to sleep. I normally save the viewing until tonight, but I'm out for a curry tonight with daughter and future son-in-law. So toodle pip for now, Mr. H. Toodle pip, Jay. And thanks for the comments, mate. Always much appreciated. Your Never Seen this week was Frantic from 1988, starring Harrison Ford. I've seen this, I quite enjoyed it, but it was a long time ago. In a hotel room in Paris, a doctor comes out of the shower and finds that his wife has disappeared. He soon finds himself caught up in a world of intrigue, espionage, gangsters, drugs and murder. Not sure why this passed me by. Maybe the title didn't appeal to me, but after reading the synopsis, I really wanted to watch it. For free, of course, as I don't pay to watch anything on Prime, especially when I'm already paying for the subscription to the channel. I'm a little bit loath to do it, and I will only do it if it's absolutely necessary. It was £3.49 on Prime or £3 on DVD off Amazon, so sod it. I bought it blind off Amazon. It came, but Amazon said it had still not been delivered. So I gave it a couple of months, and even though I'd actually watched it and it was sitting on my shelf, Amazon got in touch and said they were sorry, but it seems it got lost in the post, so you can have a refund. Thank you very much, free movie. It's happened to me a couple of times, that one. Anyway, about the film, it was okay, nothing spectacular. I kept it as I'm sure I'll watch it again in about 10 years when I've forgotten what has happened. I wouldn't mind another look at that, actually. And then you put a post on about the Norman Wisdom films, the box set that I showed off last week. You put, in reply to you watching Norman Wisdom movies, I'm surprised you've not seen more. I've seen all these, and then you put up the sleeves of all the ones that you'd actually seen. And you used to watch George Formby and Will Hay movies too. I would love to watch a George Formby or a Will Hay movie. There's box sets of those available. I might treat myself to those on one of the months when I can't find anything else to go for. Early Bird and On the Beat are the best Norman Wisdom films. I would go Trouble in Store. I did enjoy that one. The only two Wisdom films not in that box set, by the way, that you put on are The Girl on the Boat and What's Good for the Goose. And I can definitely get both of those as separate entities, so I'm not really that fussed about those two. But that box set is a cracker. For saying it only cost me £3, if I can get Will Hay and George Formby for the same price, I will be invested in those. So, and then you put a little review of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes up. Your review. So my thoughts: slow start, but picks up about an hour or so in. The last hour and a half makes up for the slow start, but it's just telling the story. Bearing in mind, I've just watched the first three before watching this, which were non-stop action, so this one slows it down a bit. Do I regret buying it blind? No. Will I watch it again? Absolutely. After a few watches of this, it'll probably make more sense, because at first I hadn't a clue what was going on. You've just got to remember that this is a whole new story, possibly new trilogy. So forget the last three. The visual effects in this are brilliant. The Weiss review. Oh God. That was the most boring fucking film I've ever watched, and I've seen some shite. She's a harsh critic, your missus. So I'm gathering from that she wasn't impressed with that one. So I'm looking forward to watching it, but obviously only when I've watched the last trilogy, which I'm going to be moving on to very, very shortly. So thanks for that, Jace. Much appreciated, mate. Always brilliant to hear from you. I did a little video last week, an unboxing of a movie called Capricorn 1, which I imported from Australia. And it went down rather well. Lee, lovely stuff, Mr. Harris. Stuart George, fantastic video, mate. You've got a Panasonic Blu-ray player. I have the Panasonic UB820 4K Blu-ray player. I might give Imprint a go. What's the postage like? I think I have got exactly the same player as you've got. As for the postage, if it's over a certain price, which I believe was 60, it was either 60 quid or 60 Australian dollars, I can't remember which, the postage is free. So I thought that was really, really worth it, and I'm definitely going to be checking out more of Imprint's releases for sure. Steve Mack, always liked Capricorn 1 with the score by Jerry Goldsmith. Brilliant score. I have the network release as it was an ITC release. The rights are with ITV here in the UK. The 129-minute extended version, which was discovered by the Film Archive of Japan, is the one that you've got. It was previously only on the Japanese Blu-ray, so well done to Imprint for acquiring it. I can't wait to watch that. I don't know whether I'll realise what the extended scenes are, because it's been so long since I've seen it. Jason K, Ginger Ninja, morning mate again. That's awesome, Tony. I had no doubt it would work, given that Arrow works over here. But then the opening with those Asian letters, they had me worried. Guessing you'll be getting more Aussie releases now. Great stuff. I most definitely will. I'm going to be looking at Imprint's catalogue and also Umbrella's catalogue. I'm very tempted by that Caligula box set still, have to say. And there are quite a few that you've got over there that we don't stand a chance of getting over here. So yeah, I don't think I'm done with Australian movies. Sam, you put awesome video, Tony, mate. Great to see an unboxing video from you. Would love to see more reviews from you, bud. To quote your dear self, I will have to take a look at doing that. Never seen this film. We'll look forward to hearing your thoughts on it, bud, and bring on the next Saturday blog. Thanks, Sam. Much appreciated. I will be doing more small reviews and unboxings. It seems to have gone down very well, so I've got no reason not to. So yeah, you will be seeing more like that. So right, just a couple of bits that I've bought. Let's see, I'm coming up to an hour and a half, so I'm going to have to motor through these a bit. Let's see. I've got, first of all, just bear with me. 3 movies. We were talking about this one last week, basically saying that my dad loved his war films. This was one of the few that I didn't actually watch with him, so I thought I'd grab a copy and take a look at it at some time. Bridge on the River Kwai. This is nearly 3 hours long, so I'm going to set aside a morning to watch this next time I'm off work. But I saw this for, I think it was $9.99 on eBay. I thought, yeah, we'll have that. This one, Sam, you'll like this one. Metropolis, Fritz Lang's 1927 sci-fi classic. Never seen it. I was very curious about that 180-minute version that you mentioned. Was it 150 minutes? I can't remember. It's an extended version anyway. This one is actually, how long is this one? 118 minutes. I bought it off Amazon and it was listed as the extended version, which I was not impressed with, but I've got it now and I know that it's streaming on BFI Player as the 150-minute version, so I'll probably watch the 150-minute version and probably give this one away. So, but I know you're very passionate about this one, so I'm definitely going to be taking a look at this. And also Nosferatu, which you were talking about yesterday. We were talking about vampire movies, so that's another one I want to take a look at. This is one I'm going to do an unboxing of. The Island. Stuart, you were showing off your copy last week, so it's still in the cellophane, as you can see. So when I get a minute, I'll do a quick unboxing video to show you exactly what you get with this. I believe it's posters, art cards, stuff like that. So looking forward to having a look at this movie. I haven't seen it for years. Michael Caine, in an outrageously silly story of modern day pirates. It's an 15. The violence was pretty grim. I believe it was an X certificate when it was first released over here. But yeah, I can't wait to take a look at this one again. It's been ages since I've seen it, but I will do an unboxing of that when I get a minute. And a handful of magazines. The final ever issue of Total Film. They folded. I don't know why. There's been no explanation whether it'll tell the story in here, but this is the final issue that I'll be getting of Total Film. Total Film is no more, so I've got to rely on Empire now. So they very kindly said that instead of Total Film, they're going to be sending me copies of SFX every month if I want to keep that going. So I'm going to keep that going because I do buy SFX. So another one, latest issue of Infinity. Articles on RoboCop, Ray Harryhausen, Dad's Army, Doctor Who, Jerry Anderson models, let's see, Die Hard, Apes Invade Britain, 1970s monkey business, and also Be Careful Out There, Hill Street Blues. There's all sorts in that. It's a cracking magazine. And also the latest issue of The Dark Side. Let's see, Bela Lugosi is in there, the Living Dead legend, the world's wildest cinema Scala performances. There goes the dog. Love that magazine. And also the latest issue of Sight and Sound, which panders to my love of independent cinema. That is it for this week, guys. Thanks ever so much for joining me, as per usual. If you've enjoyed the video, hit the like, subscribe button, all that sort of thing. I'll be back same time next week with pretty much more of the same. So, as I say, thanks for joining me. Have a brilliant week, folks, and I will talk to you all again soon. Take care, everybody. Ta-da.